This is Maurice Jones-Drew, and you're listening to the What's Bruin Show.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, UCLA, fight.
You're listening to the What's Bruin Show, part of the What's Bruin Show Network, with your hosts, Jake Merrifield, Bill Shirley, Jamaal Artis, and Mike Regalado, bringing you anything and everything UCLA sports. And now, it's time for the What's Bruin Show.
And welcome to What's Bruin, a show about anything and everything Bruin sports, mainly basketball and football. I am your host, Bill Shirley.
This time, he annoyed his wife by not having sex with her in the usual way, as Herodotus puts it, and later she told her mother, who may or may not have questioned her about it.
What's going on over there at Fort Jane?
Okay.
I not that. Jake, that's a Hemingway again? Is that another Hemingway?
No, it's a history book talking about antiquity. It's like a retelling of a Herodotus story.
Okay, because I'm like, you and your Hemingways,
No, this one goes deeper than that.
It is?
Yeah,
It
this
is?
is like
Okay.
500 BC.
Oh, that's
600
nice.
BC.
Oh, it's not
700.
that long before Hemingway. Guys, welcome to the show. Welcome to the What's Bruin Show. One of many shows on the What's Bruin Network. We have this show. We have the bare minimum. Jake, you guys just did one because it's her last one before she goes back.
Yep.
Are you going to do it for her sophomore year, or is it just her freshman year?
We don't have any plans to not do it.
All right, and then as you'll hear on our show, we have Jamaal, and he's a part of the West Coast Bias.
The West Coast Bias.
That's right. So make sure you guys check those out. Listen, on Twitter, you can check these guys out at What's Bruin Show. You can check us out through email. Jake has sent out 3 shirts now.
Can you check us out?
Yeah.
You going to keep saying check us out?
Yeah,
Why don't you mix it up a little bit? Why don't you switch it up and run it back?
I'll switch it up and run it back because I don't do any of this stuff. What's
I sent out some shirts.
Oh, you did good. whatsbruinshow@gmail.com. And you can check these guys out on Instagram at What's Bruin Show and on Threads. Did I say Twitter?
Threads.
It's Twitter now. X. It's X, right?
I like Twitter better.
Okay.
But they changed the thing on the app now.
Yeah, nobody's going to
That's
call it
big
X. It's going to be Twitter.
Yeah.
It's
Supposed to
going
say Z instead of tweet.
They're retweets. Nobody cares.
And everybody still uses it, Mike. It's just crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's
Which is funny from a guy who is not really into changing your name or identity. Weird, right?
Wow. Tell me how you really feel about Elon. All right, listen, you can go ahead and
Just a baller, man.
and actually join the cooler site, which is whatsbruin.substack.com.
Bruins.
Right? That's the better site. Guys, if you really want to find the real hidden gems, you go there and pay more.
There are going to be some articles on there.
That's
this
right.
year, I know.
Jake has a good one coming up.
Jake has a good one where if he doesn't do it, Mike will get to punch him in the balls.
Yeah, it's 3/4 done though. I'm confident it'll be out.
Mike, get your brass knuckles out, bro.
He's already asked for my opinion with stuff.
If I weren't so busy at work, it would have already been done. That's why I'm mad. I wanted to talk about it tonight, but now we're going to talk about it next week.
Got it.
That's
Okay.
cute.
All right. Fair and square. Listen, follow us on Substack.
There'll also probably be. Sorry, Bill. There'll probably also be some more mall casts coming up in the future too.
Just you walking around the mall and talking
about stuff. But
Okay.
this week is very busy.
Guess what?
Next week maybe.
Try it. It's not on Patreon. It's on Substack.
No, it's on Patreon.
No,
too.
Jake, you put it
it's
on Substack so
no,
they can
because our
pay
Patreon
more money.
Loyal Patreon subscribers get
gosh.
that too.
No,
You can pay $2 at Patreon, or you can spend $5 at Substack. It's all good.
Jake, we got to talk to you about business.
I know.
All right, so here it is.
I'm really bad at business.
We're gonna go ahead and you can go and leave a message.
If you ask nicely, I'll just give you it.
Yeah, seriously.
Just shoot me a text.
Send it to you.
You can call us. Please don't forget to call us because we'll lose the number. And that number is pretty good because we've had it for almost 10 years.
That's right.
That number is 805-399.
For WBS.
I was on Raina Troy this week.
You
so
were.
go to their feed and you'll see it was like the Pac-12 roundtable.
That's
talking
right.
about the demise of the Pac-12. Rip. Rip.
All right, dude.
One other thing, we'll talk about later in the show as well, but if you do call the hotline, feel free to give us your thoughts on what you're going to miss about the Pac-12 schools will no longer be playing. We're no longer be in a conference with Arizona State, Colorado, Utah, for now, Cal, Stanford, right? And just like last week, we did a little talk about who we're going to miss more. What did we do last week? We did
Cal, Stanford.
No, we did Colorado and Utah.
Yeah.
Oh. We miss more. Give us your thoughts. The next one we're going to do, it's not going to be today, I don't think, but it will be the Oregon State Beavers. Nice beaver, right? Where'd it go? And there it is.
Nice beaver.
Or the Washington State Cougars. And so if you have any thoughts on that, send a message to the hotline or shoot us an email. What you're going to miss most about playing those schools.
There it is, guys. There it is. And now, on to the BRO-filiated headlines with M-I-K-E.
Well, we're going to get into some football talk in a little while, but
That's right.
just really quick, touch upon some headlines since the last time we met. Washington and Oregon to the Big Ten.
Wow.
Arizona State, Arizona, Utah, and Colorado previously to the Big 12. Leaving the dynamic four, Washington State, Oregon State, Cal, and Stanford.
Have you seen the Pac-4 logo? It's pretty sweet.
It's pretty freaking awesome.
It's
And
rough.
someone already made
It's
a
in all black.
website.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. What else we got? We're going to get into this a little bit more, but Chip Kelly talked about all this realignment stuff, and one of his big takeaways is all football teams should be independent and just play regionally. He talked about how it should be like the NFL, where it's just one big conference and you just play the people next to you, which is what everyone's been doing the last 50 years, but just without the restrictions of having a conference, so his words have been picked up across the nation. So a lot of that, that's us. It's us at Bro. But yeah, what else we got?
Hi, bro.
Several Bruins on, and I know, Jake, I know you don't like watch lists, but
Watch list. Everybody's on the watch list, Mike. You're on the watch list.
I have a watch.
Yeah.
Bill is a watch.
Someone listed it somewhere. Anyway, just really quickly, 6 Bruins are on 8 preseason watch lists. Duke Clemens is on the Outland and the Remington.
He's just a baller, man.
Leatu Latu is on the Lot Impact and the Nagurski.
Go Bruins.
Chase Griffin is on the Warfel.
Go Bruins!
Carson Ryan is on the Mackey.
Go Bruins!
J. Michael Sturdivant is on the Bolitnikov. And today we found out Carson Steele is on the Doak Walker.
What? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. And
LA. UCLA. Fight, fight, fight.
That's right. Carson Steele. Can't wait.
and we still have 3 more days of watch lists, so stick to Bro. We'll let you know about where all that is happening. So yeah, we're gonna get into football a little bit more, but basketball. And I'll make this quick, Jake, because I know you don't want to do this, because it's not too early for the basketball talk.
It totally is.
I would like to avoid the basketball shows for as long as possible.
Aremara and Burke Boyuk-Tunsil have committed to UCLA.
That's crazy.
And yeah, one heck of a recruiting class for Mick Cronin, which Tracy Pearson of Bro wrote about in the recruiting coup for the ages, and it was very international recruiting base. So that was pretty cool. What else we got? One last tidbit: Tiger Campbell didn't get picked up.
Who?
Tiger Campbell. Tiger
Thank
didn't
you,
get picked up in the draft.
I haven't said that in a long time, guys.
Signed with Orlando for the summer league.
All right.
He's actually signed to play with the French team, Saint Germain.
Ah.
And so yeah, he's going to be
Sponsored by
playing
Saint Germain.
professional ball. Yeah. He'll be
Their
playing
uniforms
professional
smell
ball.
like elderflower.
Nice.
You bartenders get that joke.
He'll be playing in La France during their next season. So yeah, those
Vive
are
la France.
those are the quick headlines, and yeah, let's get into the rest of this.
All right, guys.
Do you think we drink too much?
No, we don't drink too much. Men face reality, women don't. That's why men need to drink.
I hate it when podcasters talk about what they're drinking.
What else am I gonna drink, Bob? A fucking Fresca?
And thank you for joining the What's Bruin Symposium. We appreciate your support. For how much, Mike?
$2.
Just $2 a month. You can support us, send us into the future by subscribing on Patreon, or you can subscribe on Substack. That's what Bill prefers because it costs a little bit more. That's like $5 a month, I think, or $60 a year. Thank you, Nancy.
$60 a year, $5 a month, and if you want, go ahead and give us $10 a month.
Whatever, it's up to you. But we appreciate you guys. Anything you can give us helps us keep the show afloat. We're not trying to do anything other than just kind of pay the bills so we can do this in our, in our. I don't know. These aren't our golden years yet. our middle-age years of still being obsessed with something we probably should have given up when we were in our 20s. But there we go. That's what we're doing. Did that encapsulate enough for you, Mike? Sorry.
That was perfect.
Hit a little close to home? For me, it did. Yeah, I don't know. But it is a symposium, conversation over drinks. And that's what we got here tonight. I made a nice peach-infused bourbon out of Woodford Reserved. And I bottled that up a month and a half ago or so. And I cracked it open last night. And it turned out to be pretty darn good. So what I did was I mixed it in with some Fresca and ice with some mint. And I turned it into like a peach bourbon paloma. I don't know. I guess it would be like a I don't know what we're going to call that yet.
Is it
but
good though?
It is
Jake?
nice. Oh, it's terrific. You want to try it?
No, thank you.
Yeah, of course you don't, dick. But came out real good, and we put some pictures of it up on the Twitter feed and on the Instagram. And Mike, I know we have some breaking news right now, don't we? Holy smokes! Breaking news.
What's brewing? News. Breaking news on a weekly basis.
News just in.
News was announced on Tuesday, I believe it was, that Stone Brewing would be putting out a 5.5% alcoholic beverage, a beer, if you will, called Fight On.
Ugh.
It's a USC-themed beer, and because of this, our breaking news is that the What's Brewing Symposium will no longer be supporting, purchasing, or saying anything about Stone Brewing for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, that's right. Screw those guys.
I saw that. I was like, "Is this real?" Like everybody was like,
"Do you like them though?"
I do. You know, I'm just joking.
unfortunately.
I do like Stone Brewing. It's really good. Not as good as Firestone, but still, I'm just saying. But yeah, I thought that was just a little weird. I sent it to you guys, and I think the Godfather was like, "Oh God, gross." But anyway, I went to go purchase.
Little fun for our Trojan friends.
Yeah, exactly. I went to go purchase some beer, and this one just stuck out to me. It's one obviously that I have like all the time, especially in the summer. Kona Longboard by Kona Brewing. You know, my measly $10 isn't going to do anything, but Hawaii's burning right now, and it's kind of a sad situation. So I was like, you know what, I want to kind of like support however I can. You know,
psychic thoughts.
Yes, some good vibes. They've always been good to me. So you know, I hope things go well for the people of Oahu. And
seriously, Maui right now.
Maui. I'm sorry. Yes, especially the city of Lahaina, which is mostly destroyed. It's very tragic, unfortunately, but I do love the longboard, especially in the summer, so that's what I went with tonight.
Very good. And, of course, you can support the What's Brewing Show at what'sbrewing.com or patreon.com/what'sbrewing or at substack.com/what'sbrewing show. And we appreciate your support, so thank you very much. And once again, joining us on the What's Brewing Hotline, it is our wayward soul of a brother who moved to Arizona. We love him. It's Jamaal, artist. That's right. So, Jamaal, how are you doing, man? Number one,
okay.
What's Arizona life like?
Enjoying my vacation at the moment. It rained like crazy, like cats and dogs yesterday. Lightning. We have this monsoon season here in August where it's 110. It's like 100 degrees, but it's also raining like cats and dogs.
Jeez.
And then it's nice actually. It cooled off. I think it was like 84 this morning. So I went for my first run out here.
Oh, nice.
Did the run, dropped off the kids at their school, and then ran. Jogged home. It's about 1.7 miles. Nice. No, I saw a roadrunner. A couple of a couple of beetles.
Any coyotes?
No cows.
Dynamite.
Lizards.
Coyotes.
No coyotes.
Is there an Acme? Is there an Acme factory out there anywhere?
No, but the Titan Missile Museum is down the street from us. So I think that's where the coyote's hanging out. He's got his eyes on that rocket.
Okay. Well, the last time we all talked, I think Colorado had just left the
Pac-10. It was the
Pac-9, and it went down to the Pac-9, and we were all kind of speculating, and like everything was on the board at that point, but probably the most likely scenario happened, and Bill had been speaking to that, and that is just, it was kind of like we didn't know if that was going to be the end of the Pac-12, but we knew it was certainly another step in the beginning of the end of the Pac-12. And it's just like everything got accelerated onto a whirlwind timetable. And a few days later, the corner schools, Arizona State, Colorado, Utah, they splinter down to the Big 12 after a bunch of shenanigans. Oregon, Washington, they go to the Big 10 after a bunch of shenanigans. There's like conference on a golf course. There's all sorts of weird stuff. And then Stanford and Oregon State and Washington State and, unfortunately, Cal Berkeley get screwed, and they're, as of right now, out in the cold. So, number one, I just want to go around. Jamaal, I'll let you talk first since you are the most affected by this. What do you think about what happened to the Pac-10, 12-10-9? Now it's down to 4. What do you think, brother? And then how are you feeling about Cal specifically?
Well, it's just weird. It's surreal. Within a week, I went from like Pac-12, Pac-10, Pac-9. I'm now in Big 12 country, apparently. It's kind of nuts. I mean, it's kind of funny. I was thinking about it. Ironically, Arizona and Arizona State made the Pac-8, the Pac-10 in 1978, and it looks like they're the ones who are blowing up the I mean, well, some people say Oregon, Washington, but really, the 3 schools taken off even before the Oregon-Washington decision.
Yeah, Colorado and Arizona were really hot to trot, it seems like.
Yeah. So the fact that the Pac-9 disintegrates with that big decision is just kind of surreal. I know I've been trying to catch like some local news around here, and they're kind of happy because, one, unlike Cal, they're not left holding the bag. They have something to look forward to. They're obviously taking their rival partner. They're taking Utah. Playing schools in Texas isn't that bad in terms of the conference play. It's just here people aren't unhappy about it just because of all the advantages.
It does
warm
my heart, Jamaal, that Utah can continue to kick the shit out of Arizona and Arizona State
yes.
for the future going forward.
Yes, and fool all these, TCU, Baylor, and it's like poor Kansas. All these schools are probably like, wait a minute, why do we have to play Utah now? Aren't they the ones who like every year look like they're gonna have a tough season or whatever, and then they just kick the shit out of everybody, and going into Provo's no fun. It's like,
good luck with those guys, Big 12.
Yeah, I really feel like it's funny. It's like ASU's on the downward spiral. They're about to go on probation. U of A basically just has men's basketball, and I guess women's basketball is on the up, but football's not that big. But then you got to still play Utah. It's like that can't be fun for some of these schools, especially like the Kansases of the world and things like that. So it'll be interesting. From a Cal perspective, I mean, I don't know, what can you say? They've been a part of some form of this conference since the 30s.
Yeah.
And now they're really, like I said, they're left basically out in the wind with Stanford.
For now.
The rumors are that the ACC might gobble them up. ACC is trying to get them, and SMU. I don't know why the SMU connection. And then today the rumor was Notre Dame would fully go into the ACC instead of being independent still in football. So
wait, they would fully go. The rumor is they fully go into the 8. Why not go to the Big 10?
I don't. Well,
because they're already almost in the ACC, so I guess they just go.
Yeah, they are in the ACC.
But I don't see. I'll believe it when I see it. But you can understand why it would happen.
Yeah, they have to turn down all that NBC money. I mean, they have all these sort of like loopholes for them to be in the college football playoffs.
So they could basically be like Texas in the Big 12. They could have their own shit still, and ACC would take them with open arms because it would, to a degree, appease their big schools because they'd have another big gun, and you could say, "Oh, we really are."
Then they hopefully get more money. Then they could redo their thing, right, to get more money.
Theoretically.
And if they got Cal and Stanford, okay, all right.
And Stanford would be happy with that because that's their perennial schedule. So
Yeah. Well, Jamaal, Jake doesn't believe the ACC is going to take Cal and Stanford. I
don't believe it either. I don't know why you would. Geographically, it's even worse than the Big Ten.
You can understand why.
The coast schools. I mean, well, now they have like a little coastal bubble, but why would Georgia Tech want to have to, other than a chance to kick a team's ass like Cal and Stanford, which is on the way down? Why would you want to have to play a road game in the middle of your season. I mean, what if you're like Wake Forest and you're lucky and you're having another good football season or something? You're 11-1. You might go to college football playoff, and you got to fly all the way to the Bay Area for a league game.
And look at it like this too. Look at it like this too. The Big Ten, like you can see totally why they would take USC and UCLA, because not only just based on the strength of those two brands, but also you're doing what ended up happening. You're getting a foothold, and then you can take Oregon and Washington, maybe down the line take Cal and Stanford. But that was the first step. For the ACC, they take Cal and Stanford. There's nothing else to get. They're not going to get Cal, Stanford, and Fresno State and San Diego State. So it's the move's already been made. Like if the ACC would have got USC and UCLA, a couple years ago, and then they're going to also add Oregon, Washington, and get their West Coast pod going. But it's a non-starter for Cal and Stanford. They just still be left twisting the wind out there. And you literally have the funniest line about that I heard was, now you'd have schools on the Pacific Ocean in a conference that's named after the freaking Atlantic Ocean. Right? That's pretty cool.
But here's my thing,
it's like,
Jamaal.
what's in it for them to take them?
No, I get it, but
it's
just frustrating. It's just like, I didn't go to either of those schools, no shit. But it's just sad to see that if they don't find a home, they could cut some sports. They would have to cut some sports to survive, and that's just sucky. I mean, I don't believe this crap about Stanford cutting stuff. Their endowment's like $1 jillion. I don't get it. But Cal's isn't, and Cal's mismanaged their money. No, Cal has mismanaged their money in terms of the stadium, Jake.
And there's certainly more rules about how they spend it.
And it's
a lot of red tape.
So it's like, golly, like that would suck if within the next 2 years Cal doesn't have basketball, doesn't have football, and then they have to cut other sports because they don't generate revenue.
Well, you know something else? I heard that this doesn't relate to Cal and Stanford, but it relates to the schools going to the Big 12. So the Pac-12, the Pacific Conference, for years we've been a stronghold for all of the non-revenue sports, basically, right?
Yeah.
And most of the institutions in the Pac have flourished with the other sports, and that's why Stanford, Cal, UCLA have a gazillion, even USC to an extent, have a gajillion national championships, NCAA championships. But when you talk about the Big 12, it's not like that over there. So I was just listening to Sun Devil Source today, and they were talking about how they are going to have to start doing the math on all of the sports they offer, because they might have to cut sports not because they don't have the money.
Which conference is this? Big 12?
Talking about Arizona State or Arizona would be the same thing. Or Utah would fall in the same category. They might need to cut sports just because they're going to go to a conference where none of the other schools in the conference are offering all these sports. All of a sudden, they're putting all of their resources into just their football and basketball budgets, whereas Arizona State, Arizona, Utah, Colorado presumably have a lot of other money in their budgets going towards their non-revenue sports, and so it's like you're not going to be able to keep pace with the Joneses kind of thing, because that's not the focus of that concert.
Sad.
And then on the other thing they were saying is that, for example, ASU just got themselves a hockey team and built a facility, or they rented a facility or something, right? Mike, they're big in hockey, right? Well, they're like,
they built a brand new facility, yes.
Not only do we have to pay for hockey, but in order to get hockey, we had to establish a women's team of the same size because of the Title IX requirements, right? And so you're really paying kind of double for these non-revenue sports that you're putting in. And if you're going to a conference where it's just going to make it harder and more expensive to do that, it really then doesn't make a whole lot of sense. If you're going to be like, you can understand how they do it because they're aligned with the Pac-12 vision, but it's not aligned with the Big 12 vision.
No.
And so it was a really interesting point that I think will be interesting to see down the line.
Sad. It's sad, man, and I understand they're non-revenue sports, but it's sports still. It's still different, And you want to keep it going. They've talked about. There was my boss talked to me about a podcast he heard on the way here. It was an ESPN one where they said, "Hey, man, if Stanford does cut some of its sports, because during COVID, Stanford was about to cut 11 sports, and then it was an outrage, and they pulled back from it. But it's like, hey, if they don't get a conference, then they'll probably go down that road again, and it's." They said that on the podcast that, hey, there's a lot of Olympians that go to Stanford.
Yeah.
And you would actually be cutting off at the knees some of the future Olympians for the United States, because a lot of them are sort of in that area.
You can say that for the whole West Coast. I mean, Stanford's that to the most degree.
Yeah.
But the same can be said for UCLA, USC, and Cal to a degree.
Yeah.
And even for UCLA and USC, like, we think that they're going to maintain the same course with all these sports, but there's no guarantee of it because once again they go to the Big Ten and all of a sudden
Big Ten has a lot of sports though.
I know they do, and I think it's probably a safer bet. But still, there's a transition. You have to figure out how to make it work.
Yeah.
And everybody's come up with the idea, well, maybe you just do conferences. You're in the Big Ten for football, basketball, but everything else goes to a more, to a more
Why
regional model.
not?
Why not, indeed? Because there's already instances of that happening. So why not? I mean,
Notre Dame does it.
A weird, and UCLA does it in some of their sports. And a weird example is Stanford plays, I want to say field hockey. Jamaal, I don't know if you heard this too, but they play field hockey in the Northeast. Like they're in the same conference with like Connecticut or all those schools up there because nobody else has a women's field hockey. So I mean, it's like they already do it to a degree.
Yeah.
So
water
that's
polo
probably
is
how
like
it's going
that.
to settle out. Yeah, water polo's like that, right? Because they're in the
They're
same
all
league with like Pepperdine and all those other schools.
MTSS or
Yeah,
something like
exactly.
that, yeah.
So look, I think we're kind of obviously this is Tuesday and this has all happened over the last week and everything, or this is Wednesday actually. Everybody's been talking about this to the nth degree, but this is kind of our first time to talk about it as a group as far as like the actual splintering. What do you guys think, just if you could attribute like the one biggest factor in the demise of the Pac-12 in 2023, what's the biggest thing you point to?
The previous bonehead.
No,
Larry Scott.
Yes.
No, I say the
Larry
presidents.
Scott?
I say the presidents because they allowed it. You guys
Okay,
have
well,
to realize.
let Mike explain why, and then you can have your why, Mike?
Well, I mean, yeah, no. Bill makes a
think you have
good.
to explain
Bill
Larry.
makes a
He's
good point.
supposed to say Larry
That is the presidents allowed it. They're like, oh, you got it, and it was kind of like a nonchalant, like, okay, you do your thing, you have all this vision and all that, but the fact that they did not get a TV partner and they tried to do it all on their own, and even from the beginning, it was just like it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't, aside from. Like not even the football games that were on Pac-12 network were quality. It was like the 11th ranked and the 12th ranked team in the conference, and you get it was a good place to get all the Olympic sports. But its inception was just like no commercials, no pizzazz, no hey we're the Pac-12 network, check us out here. There was just nothing. It was like here we're putting stuff on TV. Here we go.
Yeah.
And then constantly talking about how they're the future too.
Exactly,
like, this is the future.
Basically,
sucks.
basically saying like, "Here's our product. Go run with it." I was like, "Run with it? No, you run with it. You're supposed to do something about it. This is your job."
And it was such a colossal failure in that they had 7 different channels or whatever, however many channels. There's 6 channels, right? And they still could not get their football games on TV, right? Because nobody could watch this stupid network, and it was just DOA. And yet. And you talk about how they spun that this time around with the Apple deal, and that's I think what doomed the Apple deal. Like if they hadn't had the experience of the Pac-12 network thing, maybe they might have been willing to give it a shot to do the Apple deal. But it was so similar, and they were given the same sort of message. It was like a total non-starter for these guys. That's why Colorado's like double middle finger deuces, get the F out of here, and that's why all the Oregon, Washington apparently from some reports didn't even come to that emergency meeting in the morning when it really did fall apart. Because they're like, man, we're out. We're going to the Big Ten. It's crazy.
And that's another thing. Let's go down that road. Okay, so my answer is the presidents and their apathy towards what was happening. Maybe they were just drunk on their own success over so long. I mean, when something's successful for so long, over 100, they got comfortable. And once you get comfortable, you can lose. And so this is a good example of that. And to what you just talked about, Jake, Washington and Oregon going to the Big Ten, they said F you to Apple, but they were willing to take a huge pay cut, at least for now, to bet on themselves in the future.
Relative to the other schools.
Relative to the other schools, they take a big pay cut now going to the Big Ten. Like, what does that tell you about the leadership? What does that tell you about the offer? What does that tell you what they were looking at? Look, this Apple thing, I'm not buying it, right?
They're taking a pay cut over what the other Big Ten schools are getting, but they're getting more than what was promised in the Apple deal, right? I mean, so
I thought it was about the same, right? Is it?
The Apple deal started at like 22, and they're getting like 30 to go to the Big Ten.
But then they said expenses.
It's roughly
about
the same.
equivalent,
but it's more guaranteed.
Okay,
the thing I thought was funny is that. So they're talking about how Oregon and Washington are going there, and they're getting around like $30-something million, or whatever, and then you have the travel cost, so it's more like 20-ish, just like you're saying. But I was listening to 12 Pack and Rob Bowen. He's the guy with the statistical model over there. But he's talking about how everybody's just projecting that the next deal is going to be bigger than this deal, but there's really no actual guarantee of that because even though the money's all there right now because live broadcasts are where it's at, and we still have mostly cable subscribers, but every year
it gets less and less.
Cable people are getting older and older, like us. Like we're the young. Me and Bill are the hip young cable guys.
Yeah.
You know, but most of the cable guys are like 80. So he's talking about how they're borrowing against their future earnings, but there's no guarantee that the next contract will be this big. It might, but wouldn't it be something if Oregon and Washington sign up for this, and then like Cal is right now, or like some of these other schools are who've put all these, like Oregon State put all this money into improvements. Now the money's not there when it comes around the next time to go.
Or what about this? What about, and Jamaal, chime in on this one. What about, streaming probably is the future.Maybe it's too nascent right now in terms of live sports, right? Because I don't know how this. But
not really.
It almost certainly is.
But
I mean, a lot of people have it though.
A lot of people have it, but what about if we're wrong and the Apple deal was like the thing where you find out later? Look, right now it's MLS. What about MLS keeps on growing the way
right
it's
now
going?
It's the girl with the glasses.
It's the girl with the glasses.
What about when she takes her glasses off?
When she takes her glasses off and all of a sudden like, oh my God, she's hot. Does that make sense?
It does. It makes perfect sense.
What a big FU that Kalashnikov could say to us.
Kalashnikov?
Right? Well, look, I mean, just not to get too much inside baseball, but look at ESPN. I mean, they signed this big deal to partner with this Penn Group for online gambling, advertising, and all sorts of stuff, because they're kind of seeing that when it's time for them to re-up with their cable partners, they want to pay less for what ESPN is producing, because they see that some of these properties like the NFL are going to like Amazon, and we just talked about the MLS left ESPN and now they're on Apple TV. I'm not surprised that that all this money exchanging, this kind of like get what you can right now type of deal, because I really think that's what the Oregon-Washington situation was about, because they didn't want to get stuck in that, what was that, land grant rights deal with the conference and then be stuck for another however many years with a shitty TV contract. Not surprised they went to the Big Ten. So, I just think that I think the last time I talked to you guys, all these schools, or at least their athletic commissioners, their presidents, are kind of looking at what's happening in front of them, and they're trying to get the best deal possible whenever they can get them. I feel that's the same thing with the Utah, Arizona State. They probably thought if we don't jump in with Big 12 now, they might go ask Cal and Stanford and somebody else to go down and join them, and then we're going to lose out on the money. So I think that's where all this is really coming from.
And the bottom line is, all these schools just got sick of being on the defensive, right? For an entire year, they were stalling. And I think we talked about this a little bit last week, and on the crossover podcast I did with Raina Troy this week, it's on their feed. I was talking about how I think like the going from the BCS to the 4-team playoff instead of a playoff right away that accounted for all of the major conferences. I think that was like early on the thing that did in eventually the Pac-12. It could have been the Big 12, but in this case it was the Pac-12. I think from the last decade, I think that's the biggest thing that happened. But in the last 12 months, in the time period since UCLA and USC left for the Big Ten, the biggest moment, in my opinion, was the Big 12 beating the Pac-12 to that contract. They opened up their rights early, got the contract that would have been the Pac-12's. You can't tell me that the Pac-12, even without USC and UCLA, if you look at them now, I know that TCU had a great season this year, but they have better schools football-wise, pound for pound, than the Big 12 had in their conference right now. So the Pac-12 kind of turning up its nose, not merging with the Big 12, and then letting, sitting back on their haunches and being, hoity-toity pinkies out, and the Big 12 swooping in and stealing that contract. That's what the nail was.
Well, let me ask you this. What do you guys think, and tell me, what do you guys think the presidents are feeling right now? Do you think there's any regret? Do you think they're like, fuck it, I don't care?
I don't think the presidents could give a shit, because they're too busy worried about whether or not they're going to hire another scientist or not. But as far as like the athletic directors, I think are like, they're really regretful and probably freaked out to a large degree, pissed.
Well, just from a Cal perspective, as much as this all looks bad for them, whatever, and everyone's like crapping on Knowlton, the AD, and stuff like that, on top of him being investigated for not controlling the crazy swim coach. I really think, like, from a Cal perspective, the endowment, we've been talking about the endowment is so huge from the academic side, the school side, the prestige side. If you're a president of Cal, you're not really worried that this PR will blow over, because people are going to keep going to Cal regardless.
You figure
right?
it'll work out at some point.
But look, Jamaal,
Right.
you're right.
And also, Cal's been mediocre at the money sports for so many years. I mean, they've had these slivers of success, but it hasn't been, like their partner schools. Certainly not like UCLA, USC, Stanford at all in terms of California.
I think Cal still wants to be
they've been the
athletics.
fourth place team for so long when it comes to those schools that I don't really think it matters.
I disagree, Jamaal. This is why I disagree. I know that's your alma mater, but I have to say, they're like, oh, people are still going to go to Cal. Yes, people still go to Cal, but I think if you took a step back and said, hey, prospective students, there are schools that are comparable to Cal, right? What you name 3 or 4 of them, okay? All right. So the other 3 schools have sports. To whatever degree. They have a football program. Some of them have football and basketball. And there's Cal, who has none of those big sports. And they might have fencing and maybe swimming, but nothing else. I do think that will affect enrollment. I'm not saying it will go to 0. I'm just saying
Bill, how can that affect enrollment when basically that you could say that Cal has a football team, you can say Cal has a basketball team. Those are supposed to be money sports, but frankly,
You don't think some kids want to have that experience as part, even if they're not that good?
Even if they're not that good, no. I mean, I'm sorry.
I will tell you.
People on Twitter are going to troll me and say, or people who listen to us are going to troll me and say that can't be the case, or yeah, that's the case. Cal doesn't have any fans. I'm like, no, they do. They have a dedicated group of people that go there, but that's still like, from my experience, it's still like less than 25% of the campus compared to like people who want to go see UCLA basketball or UCLA or USC football or Stanford. I mean, frankly, I don't think it's that way at Stanford either. Even when they redid their stadium and they were on the up and up, Stanford Stadium is not. You're not talking about a raucous crowd that's pumping up the team. Maybe a ton of alumni. Now, if you ask alumni, yeah, I'm sure there's a ton of alumni who enjoy that kind of stuff. But
Jamaal,
students to go.
Okay, all right.
But look, I'll just say this, right? I think number one, you kind of hit it right on the head at the end there. I don't think college students appreciate, for the most part, the average college student doesn't appreciate the value of sports at their school until they've graduated. No. I certainly know that's how I was like as a UCLA guy. And look at all us. I mean, obviously we're kind of outliers in that we really take it way too seriously. So seriously that we spend a night a week for 10 years talking about it. But I think that's more common, right? And it's not a coincidence that, guess where the tour for prospective students starts when you go to apply at Berkeley and you're going for a tour. It starts right there at Memorial Stadium. That's where you meet. And they show that off. And if somehow Cal drops down to where they don't have major league sports anymore, right? That just having that monument on campus to what used to be, it's not like it's 1920 and nobody really gives a shit about sports, like it was back then. Right. It was like a side thing. So like when the University of Chicago gives up football, like, 100 years later, everybody's like, okay, who gives a crap? By the way, they still play football just on a much lower level. But I think, in today's day and age that happens, I think it's a harder pill to swallow for the Cal alums and the people that are, that do care deeply about that school. And I think it's possible, but I really think that it would be sorely missed. I think more so than
Cal alums, yes, but prospective students, I mean, in 10 years, there's still going to be kids who want to go to Caltech, Cal, MIT, Harvard, and stuff like that. I'm just saying, it's like Cal alums like myself. Yeah, I'm going to think.
You're right. No, and Jamaal, I hope I didn't overstate. I'm not saying like it's going to drop by 50%, but I still think there could be somebody who has the the academic requirements for those kind of schools, and then looks and goes, I want to go to a school that has something. And Jake, you guys disagree. Jake's saying that you didn't think about it when you're in there, even though I remember going to my first college game with you guys.
No.
During school, but
I didn't care about it as much when I was there. Like I cared about it. I wanted to go to games and stuff, but it wasn't like I wasn't
not as deep dive as
you weren't
putting out a podcast.
No, I get it.
When I was at UCLA, I liked pro football more, and then by the time I left UCLA, I liked UCLA football.
I mean,
more.
I had freaking UCLA in my bowels, guys. Yeah, we know, but it's just like I don't know. That's my thing.
You had UCLA Washington playing in the
there are
in
some
the TV
times where I'm
room.
like, I wish I had just gotten into debt and gone to the University of Miami. But I mean, I love the U. I would have been running around in green and orange, telling you guys about the U and all that stuff. But
he could
I got in.
Shapiro.
Yeah.
I got in and I was like, it's more cost effective to go to Cal, and it's also, the number one public university in the world. So it's like,
as someone paying,
that's me.
As someone paying Cal tuition and whose daughter's about to learn how to play the fight song wrong in a week, I'm hoping that they somehow find their way into some sort of situation, and I really am hoping it's the Big Ten. I really.
I would hope it's the Big Ten, but I have no idea. I mean, I've heard the rumors are Fox says "F you" to. Fox.
It's just a matter of for how long though, because there is the one thing that Cal and Stanford really have is they are they're pretty much the best schools playing major league sports, right? Because all the other schools that are like them, especially gone. And sorry Jamaal, we have to acknowledge it, especially Stanford as far as like all the rankings go.
Yeah.
Right. The MITs, the Harvards, the Princetons and stuff. Stanford and Cal, and to a degree UCLA, Michigan. Those are the schools that are like in that category that have major sports, and I think that it's a good distinction to have.
Smart schools with sports.
There you go. Right. So let's hope it all works out
with major sports.
I just don't think that they would be complete. I mean, I don't think they would be completely out of something. Something will happen because there's just no way, and I think like you just mentioned, people want Stanford. And if you want Stanford, you're gonna probably just have to swallow the pill and take Cal too, and it'll work itself out. How well it is, who knows?
And I forgot who it was, but someone said, you know what, realignment isn't done. Just when these schools realize what the hell's happening with everything. Oh God, who was it? Was it Stuart Mandel? He goes, I could totally imagine all of these schools regrouping in 10 years.
Well,
yes,
probably.
I'm really hoping that we end up with a Big Ten that has a Pac conference.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
Or Pac division,
probably.
like Chip Kelly said.
That's what I mean. Yeah, Pac division, Pac conference. Pac. Whatever.
This is why I want Cal and Stanford in it.
I know, Bill. That's what you've been
saying. Jake asked, like, what are the schools that have changed Power 5 and stuff like that? I mentioned Miami. I mean, Miami went from independent to Big East, and then left the Big East for football to ACC. Some of these schools have already realigned more than once in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Trying to remember who else it was. Might have been UVA was another one. Went from the Big East to, or went from independent to Big East to something. Or, like these schools, Mike might be right. These schools might regret what they do, and in 10 years try to figure it all out. When there's another round of money coming for whatever reason, Saudi Arabia starts throwing their money into college sports.
Yeah, let's do it.
Something like, what, we don't know.
The Mars Sports Network. They just want East Coast crap.
All right. Yeah. Well, Jamaal, thank you very much for hopping on. We knew you'd have some thoughts about this. And,
hell yeah.
I hope that you stay nice and cool out there in the desert.
Sure. Hey, can I throw the wife under the bus for a second?
Damn,
sure.
Whoa.
Because my wife is a sports agnostic, and I just thought everybody would get a kick out of this one. Out here, there's many options for license plates through the Department of Transportation, and it's very popular for graduates of the University of Arizona to get the Wildcat license plate, and it says "Bear Down."
Bear down.
So we're in the line to pick up the kids, and she's looking at a license plate, and she's like, "Oh, look, ASU has a license plate too." And I look over and I'm like, "Marjorie, that says Bear Down. It's the University of Arizona." And she's like, "Yeah, what's the difference?"
We say the same thing.
You're hurting me here. You're hurting me here. It's two different schools. She's like, "Oh, well, I didn't know." And I was like, and anyway, it's forks up for ASU and Bear Down for Arizona. So I think I'm going to need to indoctrinate her. There's some cheap tickets to go see them play UTEP. It's like September 7th. So
sounds like date night.
Be blazing hot for that. So.
All right. Well, wonderful. Yeah. Definitely educate her while she's out there. She needs to know what's going on. Jamaal, thank you very much.
Take care, Jamaal.
And we will talk to you soon.
Take care, Jamaal.
Love talking to you guys again and the audience as well. Thanks again for having me on.
Yep. Well, fall camp has started in the middle of summer, and they are practicing how many times a day? Once a day?
Once a day, about 6 days a week.
All right. And, a lot of reporters are out there. Saw some of our friends that we saw at Media Day or tweeting from there. Of course, Bruin Report Online is out there. Some of those days, of which are assigned to old Mikey, M-I-K-E.
Yep.
Iron Mike Regalado.
Iron Mike.
That's me.
So, Mikey, it's funny on my OneDrive, where were you 10 years ago type of thing. It's like just like you have on your Apple phone with Apple Photos. But it was showing me photos from 10 years ago. Like this is from a couple days ago. But it was me out at my first UCLA camp that I attended, and that was out here. Remember that music, guys?
Yeah.
You went to that, Jake?
San Bernardino Sunburn. I went to a couple days out there, right out there at Cal State San Bernardino. It was a blast. Old Jim Mora taking the folks out to San Bernardino.
What did they call it? There was UCLA fans were. Oh God, it was based on the Alabama. Anyway,
Who knows? But anyways, those were the days because you could actually go out and watch camp, right? And we went out there and watched them running around. Was that actually spring camp or was it?
No, that was fall camp.
That was fall camp, right?
Camp, yeah. He only did that during fall.
Yeah, it's taken to a place that's hotter. A great idea, Jim. But they seem to like it. But we got to watch practice, the full practice. Got to watch guys running around.
Mm-hmm.
You could walk all over the place.
Yep.
See people competing.
Yep.
Mike, is that the current state of UCLA football
Nope.
fall camp?
Sure isn't.
What exactly are you privy to?
Drills, Jake. Bunch of drills.
How many minutes of drills, Mike?
The last few years, they say we have 15 minutes to watch practice, and they stretch it 20, 25 minutes, which is plenty of time. This
nice.
year, they say,
25 minutes. That's very nice.
Yeah.
How
definitely.
about this year?
They say 15 minutes.
Yikes.
And they mean it. At the 15-minute mark, even if we're still there, they're like, all right, guys, we're out. We're done. No more video.
So
no more
is
photos.
it true that a line of 100 UCLA security guards come out with riot batons and just slowly
Mike
march
knows about
the
riot
reporters
batons.
off of the stadium?
Yeah, just like, in the
Out of
back.
facility?
I look at them, and they're like, what are you going to do? I'm like,
have you been threatened with tear gas, Mike?
Twice.
Pepper ball guns.
Once I asked if I could have one to take it home.
Yeah. I'm ready to shoot you with mine.
Tank. What the hell was that? It was the side of my head, bro. It's
We are making it a little dramatic, but
a little. But
the access is less than it has been, which it already wasn't very much. Is that what we're saying?
What you were talking about with San Bernardino, the last few years with UCLA football, it has been more restricted than that. This year, it's even more restricted than the last few years, which is funny because spring practice, we could watch the whole thing.
Yeah, which is cool. Maybe they're like, oh, well, we threw these guys a bone in the spring, so now lockdown.
And it's weird too because they'll say, hey, practice starts at 9:45. We were on more than one occasion waiting out there for 20, 25 minutes. That's like, this isn't 9:45. If you wanted us to show up at 10:05, then say that.
That's kind of like when they tell you to go to court at 8:30, and then some of these loser courts don't open up until like 9:15.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating.
Yeah.
Oh, well. That's how justice is served.
So we have less access to it, and even before, we were just watching drills, but for previously, we could see what is going on with, like, on the far field, what's, who was potentially quarterback one, who's he matched up with, this is how I kind of took the running back and quarterback depth chart throughout last season is just look to see who's with DTR. Yep, sure enough, it's Zach Charbonnet, QB2 Ethan Garbers, and he was with who was it? Whoever it was. You could see QB1.
Who was matched up with DTR?
QB1 and RB1. Then QB2
Who was
and
matched
RB2.
up with DTR?
Zach Charbonnet.
Zach Charbonnet's. We only have so many of those left in us, I'm sure.
We can't even see that. One indication is that the start of camp, Ethan Garbers was wearing the GoPro VR camera, and
I loved GoPro Gate, by the way. Did you hear any of this, Bill?
No, I did not.
Oh, GoPro Gate was the GoPro speculating.
Yeah,
It was
I was gonna get into that.
Yeah, please.
So last year DTR wore the GoPro. Zach Charbonnet wore the GoPro. So it was basically the players who were getting the most reps were wearing the GoPro so that they can go back later and see the VR. And
so all you have to do is look for the GoPro and go, oh, that's QB1. That's RB1.
And
Ethan speculate.
And Ethan Garbers was wearing it for the first 3, 4. The last 2.
I told you, Jake.
Dante Moore.
So what do you have to say about that, Bill?
I have to say that it's just equal right now. In a couple of weeks, Garber wins.
Wait, Bill, but I have a question.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man.
I don't care. I want just win. Whoever's up.
Do I want more? I want more W's. That's what I want.
There you go. There you go.
But yeah, so there's not much. I mean, there are different things that we can glean from practice, from drills, not even practice. So the main thing is looking to see who's there, who's not there. The big news is that Ali Cajo, he's back in practice. CLA Taupaki back in practice. John Vons is getting back into football shape because he was with the baseball team during spring. So a lot of these guys are healthy and making their way back. Some guys that are standing out, I keep talking about Carl Jones. I think Carl Jones is getting passed up. The dude is yoked, like just chiseled. Just
really?
It's insane. Like he sweats and it just glistens and just the sun just bounces off and rainbows bounce off his body. He just looks like a physical specimen. The Graysons, the Murphy twins, Grayson and Gabriel, they look pretty good. Leatu Latu just looks like a stud. Darius Muasau, he looks super focused. He looks like he's a man on a mission, and he's just taking every rep seriously. And that's a good sign from the leader of the linebackers, which UCLA basically has one of its best linebacking crew in the Chip Kelly era.
A lot of people are harping on how good the front seven should be this year, so we'll see if that comes to fruition. We have some stats about that in a few minutes after you're done talking, Mike.
Yeah.
Have you seen the tackle from Old Dominion yet? Have you actually seen him in the flesh?
I've seen him, but they're on the far field. Sometimes there's a wall in between it.
Kadera Kunta.
Yeah.
I said the name right.
But from other reports,
he's
looking pretty good. Yeah,
we've heard good things about Spencer Holstage, right?
Yes,
and to the grade he comes
and Jake Wiley
with a rep, right?
Mm-hmm.
And playing at a Power 5 school, but Kadira, like he's coming up in level, so we're really hoping he can, get it going.
Exactly. So there's not much we can take away, which is kind of a pain in the ass because, we're media trying to give the people what they want about UCLA
What
football.
they want? You know what they want? They want more.
They definitely do.
Be one.
Garbers.
So yeah, it's basically going to be drills. They were in full pads for the first time today, Wednesday, second week of practice, and just from what Tracy reported, they seem to have wanted to. They were waiting for this day because they wanted to get their hits on. They wanted to be a bit more physical. You could check out video on Bruin Report Online.
You get sick of running around in your underwear.
Yeah, pretty much.
Where can you find that?
Bruin Report Online.
I do have one very important question about practice.
So,
bottom line is, and Bill, tell me if this doesn't sound right. Mike, of course, correct me if I'm wrong. But it sounds like you get to go watch this year. You get to go watch them practice, run around in drills for like 10 to 15 minutes. And then you get to talk to whoever they make available afterwards or before? Afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, there's not a whole much to see as far as going out to cover practice.
No, not
unless
at all.
you're someone cool like Wayne Cook, and then you can go because you have more access. And Wayne Cook gets to go to the whole practice and just stand around, talk to the coaches, and BS. But the common man, the common reporter, does not. Is that true?
Yeah, exactly.
So just take everything that we hear, all the rumors come out of fall camp to a degree, with a grain of salt, because nobody's seeing anything really of substance, and they're only talking to the players after the reports, right? So I mean, it's kind of hard to really get a whole lot out of it.
And this is just my theory that I think it is because of the quarterback competition that things are on lockdown more.
Yeah.
Wow, lockdown more.
Whoa,
I didn't even.
Thank you. Bill's already sick of it.
And it's it's Chip Kelly. being
Bill's
Chip
turned his
Kelly,
back on me.
hiding as much information as possible, and I get it too, because he doesn't need extra stuff coming out of camp, so he's going to limit the media's access, everyone's access.
The most important question I have about camp is there's a video of Jalen Davies, new defensive back, right, running around out there trying to get a spot.
From last year, this is second year.
Why no? But he didn't play a
Still
whole
no,
lot last
still,
year,
yeah.
right? And new to the field, to a degree. But he's standing there in a black UCLA shirt that he has, looks like,
Ripped
cut the
off.
sleeves off.
Yeah.
Cut or rip the sleeves off. Now, number one, is that approved UCLA gear? Can they just modify or vandalize or destroy the property in any way they wish?
Oh, probably.
Is he going to
I
have
mean-
to do some extra push-ups for this? Is that just,
I
can we all get
think
get
so.
sleeveless UCLA black cool custom gear like that? I
I
don't know.
don't
Can you please
think
ask
I-
him that follow-up question? If he ever wears his shirt again at a media availability?
Sure.
I want to know.
Either way, I
Mike?
mean that's an undershirt, so I don't. I think the coaches really don't give a crap about
I'm
what
just
they're
saying.
wearing underneath.
I'm just saying. That's
but-
destruction of California property.
Okay.
It's a vandalism.
Sure,
Where-
Jake.
Where I'm
All
coming from.
right.
It looks cool, though. So, yeah. I wanted to ask that question.
But yeah, so there's not much we can get out of it. But the last week of August, I'm hoping we get a little bit more, because that's when it starts to become game week, and yeah, it's just what if you're subscribed to Bruin Report Online. You know what we're writing. It's very limited. We're trying to give everybody as much information as possible, trying to look at individual players, on certain days. Like, we can't even get depth for most of these. You can tell, like, for among the linebackers, it's Darius, then like Che, and then
Che Guevara,
Brian Strother.
Oh,
obviously
does he have the cool hat?
No, he doesn't, Jake.
No.
Yeah, we have a gorilla in our midst. But yeah, there's not much else. There's not much else we could do. So yeah, it's not a great practice report, but we're giving you what we can.
It's what we got. Okay.
Yep.
So some other news and notes. Let's see what we think about this. The AP poll has not come out yet, right? Still waiting for the
Tuesday, I
preseason.
believe. I think it comes out on Tuesday.
The coaches poll did come out.
Yes, it did.
And so how many Pac-12 schools are ranked, Bill, in the top 25?
Don't know, Jake.
Well, what would you think? How many would you think?
I would say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5.
On the button, Bill. So SC comes in at number 6. Washington at 11. Let me know if you disagree with any of these rankings. Utah, number 14. The Ducks, quack. Well, I guess we could do a little bit of a roll call. USC is at 6.
USC, do not. No. Bad USC. No.
The Dogs, I'm sorry, yeah. The Dogs at number 11. I don't have a drop for the Dogs, do I? No, I don't. Good job, Mikey. Utah.
Did you say Utes?
Yes, at number 14. The Ducks, they're wimpy.
The Ducks? They're wimpy. They don't even have teeth.
They're at number 15. And then the last team in the Pac-12 in the top 25 would be none other than Oregon State.
Nice beaver.
And they come in at 18. And then UCLA, Bill, if you could say like a number between 1 and 100, how many voting points did they get to get into the top? Or
how many votes?
That's a wrong. That's a wrong question. If we counted, from the 25 to 26, 27, 28, where would UCLA be in the top 40? Because they're inside the top 40. Where are they in the top 40 according to the coaches poll?
Let's say 28.
Just a little high. They're at 31 right now with 42 votes overall.
Mm.
I'm curious to see what the AP poll does, because I think that I really think this. If you listen to the national podcasts that are going around, the Bruins are really getting a little bit of like that kind of undersold, like, oh, this could be the team type of thing. We always get that. UCLA always gets that little label. But there's a lot of people kind of talking them up on a lower scale, because obviously it's hard to talk them up when you have
you don't know the quarterback
returning
situation.
Top 25, like there's like 4 number
Yeah.
1 draft picks in the Pac-12 right now coming back at quarterback. So it's tough to put them above that. But some other things that have come out about the Bruins this year, waiting on the AP poll. But PFF has started issuing some of their top 50s and top this and that or whatever. UCLA's defensive line, according to PFF, is rated number 8, not in the Pac-12, in the country. And that is on, and Bill's shaking his head pessimistically. Why, Bill? Why?
On what grounds do they have that?
Well, they have a top. Top
Latu
42
is the biggest one. The Murphys, who are getting some attention, and
who else? And even Murphy.
Carl
you know how I love
Jones.
twins.
Can I tell you why they're rating it? Because I was about to tell you.
Well,
Bill.
Mike interrupted you. It's funny you're just talking to me.
Well, the thing about me interrupting everything. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. No, Mike's right. Latu is a top 50 player according to PFF. He's the only Bruin in the top 50. So that's on the strength of Latu being also like a number, like he's like in the top 5 of edge rushers in the country.
Yeah.
And then they had one of the Murphys, I think, Gabriel, yes. Gabriel's they're very highly ranked in their edge rushing as well. And so basically on the strength of their edges, UCLA's up there along with the other experience that they have on the inside. So that's really where it's coming from, Bill.
And that is an interesting point. Tracy pointed this out on one of his reports of the last 2 days, that the hybrid role, that Latu role, he's a linebacker for all intents and purposes. It was that outside linebacker / defensive end role. They were working with the linebackers last year. Now they're fully with the defensive line.
Yeah. And Bill, PFF feels so strongly about it. This is, I quote, UCLA has the best group of edge defenders in college football. That's how strongly they feel about it collectively. So Bill's shaking his head skeptically.
We'll see.
But that might be a positive sign for the Bruins. We'll see. I get the guy to get out there and play, right?
Yep.
Okay. So as we head through the rest of this fall camp, is there anything else that you're looking to hear or anything else that you're interested about? What do you think, guys?
Obviously, they have to show it, but just with the depth and the talent that the linebackers have, and our buddy Will Decker at the LA Football Network, the Bruin Bible, thinks that this is
Iron Mike,
one of the best linebacking groups in like decades. I would put Anthony Barr and Eric Kendricks's teams up with that, but it's definitely the best linebacking group in the Chip Kelly era.
I get with that.
Yeah. So that's something I think will improve, and especially when you have Danton Lynn.
We'll see.
I think he's going to, and then when you separate, Cody Whitfield coaching the cornerbacks and Brian Norwood solely with the safeties, that's a 3-headed monster right there. That's a brain trust of defensive backs. So I don't see how the defensive backs, the secondary, can't get better. You know what I'm saying?
Famous last words, but I hope you're right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if they do, I think end it all. But it just seems like they're sub 100 the last few seasons. They can only go up. They have to go up, and they've gotten talent. They've gotten guys who have moved around, and there's some guys that look really good. You have Devin Kirkwood, who looked like a stud ever since he was a freshman. Alex Johnson at nickel, he looked really, really good in spring.
How about Jalen Davies in his cutoff sleeves?
Studley.
Okay.
Yes.
Just to round out some of that PFF stuff, you might find this interesting. Of the Pac-12, in the PFF top 50 in the nation, the Pac-12 had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. Latu being number 42 as the edge guy, Latu, number 42nd in the top 50. 6 other Pac-12 guys are in there, higher ranked than Latu. Let's see if we can guess who they are. Who do you think one of them is, Bill?
And on defense,
no, not on defense. Just the top 50 players overall in the Pac-12.
Oh, Caleb Williams.
There you go, number 1. Good job, Bill. Ding, 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 ding. I gave you an easy one. Mike, do you have a guess of somebody else that's in the PFF top 50?
Michael
Penix, number 18. Good job. Anybody else have a guess? There's another Husky. There's another Trojan. Actually, there's 2 more Huskies and 1 more Trojan. And 1 Duck. Quack, quack.
Bo Nix,
number 34. Another Husky.
I'm blanking on the dude's name. I could picture
He's
him.
named after a famous city in the world with a lot of history.
Paris.
No, but close.
London.
Go south. No, further south. Mike went north. You need to go south.
Cape Town.
Yes, Cape
Town Johnson.
Cape Town Struthers is he's gonna be
That's good, Mike.
Wicked. Lockdown corner for the Huskies. No, I'm talking about wide receiver Rome Oduzny. He's
There
number
you
32. Caleb Bullock, the safety for the Trojans, 24. I know I'm mixing all this up. And then Washington edge, Braylon Trice. He is the best edge in the Pac-12 and like the second best in the country, I want to say. According to PFF, of course. What do they know? Their little individual grades. Okay, we'll continue to pay attention to what's going on at the camp and what little nuggets we can glean and who's modifying their clothing and all that stuff. And maybe Chip will say some more interesting things. You know, he Bill, I don't know if you saw that, but he was
And people ran with it.
He got aggregated himself this week because he was saying, well, all football teams should just be independent and make up their own schedules and be a free-for-all, and then let all the non-revenue sports go to conferences. He's like, let's just do that. And it's like, okay, it makes sense as any other dumb model, I suppose. But we are going to come back next week with our talk about, well, I don't know, Bill might not be here next week, so we might not do it next week. But we're going to continue our series of saying farewell to our Pac-12 brothers. Oregon State and Washington State are up next. So down the line, it's going to be next week or the week after. If you have any thoughts on why you'll miss Washington State or why you'll miss Oregon State, please feel free to send us an email or don't tweet us because it'll get lost in our feed, or call the hotline. Of course, the hotline is 805-399-4WBS.
Suck it, Raina Troy.
Suck it, Raina Troy. They got a new soundboard. It's really cool.
Is
it's
it?
really fancy. Yeah.
I
it gave me a
clicked
little
on
bit
your
of
live
soundboard
feed.
envy. Did you? How did we sound?
It sounded good. It's funny how people are commenting
Castillo
on your.
fucked up the. What were they commenting on?
They're like, oh, what the hell is Jake wearing?
That's right. Yeah. Actually, that's what I wore last season when I appeared on the show. I was wearing Mike's Bearhead, and it was quite a hit.
Yes.
It was a very good appearance.
Yep.
But anyways, call us with your thoughts on what you'll miss about the Beavs
Nice beaver.
or the Cougs. And I wish I had a Coug sound still. I got to get one. Yeah. I was thinking more of like a saucy sounding middle-aged woman. Yeah, we need.
Hey, pool boy.
There you go, Mike. Oh, we just got it. Give me a clean one. Give me a clean one. 1, 2, 3.
Hey, pool boy.
Mike, that's perfect. Okay, good job. Producing live on the air. Okay. But your thoughts on not the Ducks, the Beavs or the Huskies. And let's get on with Bill's favorite part of the show.
What's brewing with you? You ask me. What's brewing with me? Yeah. What's brewing with you? What's brewing with me? What's brewing with you?
All right. Mikey, what's brewing with you, bro?
God, I don't know, man. Not doing too much right now, just because, with fall camp, schedule has to be a little flexible to cover camp. But still just hanging out with the kids. They start school next week. I start work/school
Yeah, it's
next
crazy.
week.
Traffic's coming back. I'm not happy about that.
Not happy about that at all. But I am. One thing I don't like to do is just nothing. I don't like to sit at home. Like, I'll rest when I need to, but like last week didn't work at all. And I was like, oh, what the hell do I do with my life? You try to, went out, hung out with friends, went to, bars, saw some DJ friends at their shindigs, saw some bands. Actually, there was this, where was it? I think it's Highland Park. There was this record shop that was basically a record shop / bar that has bands play. The only bad thing there is that where the audience stands, it's like on an incline rather than decline. So I'm like probably about 20-30 feet back from the stage. I couldn't see anything because all I see is the top of everyone's heads. I was like, really bad planning. But this was an old house that was converted into a record store / bar, and really cool spot. But other than that, just gearing up for football and getting kids ready for the school year. My V is an 8th grader, so we're already thinking about high schools now. And so, we're already having those conversations. It's like, oh God, okay. All right, let's do it. So, but that's basically it. Nothing too much. Bill, what's wrong with you?
God, my home was under construction, building an ADU.
Fort Jane.
That's right. The good thing is, it's nice to see little improvements. For the last couple months, I've had half my living room tinted up. Our TV and couch are about a foot away from each other because everything has to be scrunched up to get all this stuff done. We have a new sliding glass door in the back, and my fireplace, which was taken out for ADU, it's all drywalled up now. So it
Crazy.
I know. I miss my fireplace, but hey, it's there. I'm going to do the best with it. I'm going to make a faux fireplace there. Jake, I'm going to build that. You'll see that soon.
I'm going to get pissed if Fort Jane gets built in a smaller amount of time than it takes my gosh darn solar panel / Tesla batteries to get put in charge. They're supposed to be done today, and it's postponed again. I'm really pissed.
But either way, it's really interesting to see my living room now that's more open. So I have a lot of fun to in store to design it, and I'll show you pictures someday when I'm done. That's what's brewing with me. Jake, what's brewing with you?
I have had the pleasure of meeting or hearing about some really interesting old people, elderly folks, and just in the last couple weeks. And I'll just share a couple of them. Number one, we went to see Oppenheimer, right? Did you guys see that yet?
Not yet.
I have not.
Yeah, it's good. Don't take your kids to see it, but it's good. But two people that I know have fathers that worked on the Manhattan Project. One of them being guest contributor and all-around good guy, friend of the show, Jim Bendet, the Godfather Jim Bendet. His dad, and I'll ask him about it next time he's on the show, but his dad was a professor at Berkeley and SC, if I remember right.
Okay.
I might have that wrong. Sorry, Godfather, if I do. But he actually sent a picture of his certificate, his father's certificate, working for the United States of America War Department, Army Service Forces, Corps of Engineers, Manhattan District. And it's a pretty cool little piece of history that he
awesome.
sent to us. Yeah, this is totally cool. And I have another friend that I work with, who I'm actually going through we're doing a trial right now with him, and he's a very talented, gifted lawyer, Mr. Paul Cohen. His father also worked on the Manhattan Project. So I don't know if you
That's pretty random
Isn't that crazy?
to know two people.
I got
who
the
have
same
relatives.
story twice, right?
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
How did they like Cillian Murphy in real life?
Yeah, I don't know how they felt about him. I didn't get any because it's not a first-hand story, right? It's the second.
You're Irish.
From the Sons.
Why do you have an American accent?
But so that, and then also I was over at a friend's house just the other day, and her elderly father, he's in his 90s. He had surgery for skin cancer, and so he's recovering at their house. And I always like talking to him because he loves good Manhattan. Speaking of Manhattan Project, right? Our Manhattan Project involves vermouth and rye.
Well played.
But another kind of Manhattan Project. And so we were enjoying a nice, drink, a cocktail the other day as I was visiting him while he's recovering. And he started talking to me about, I had no idea, but he's an actual immigrant, even though when you talk to him, he's lived like 7 lives, but he actually grew up in a German village in Yugoslavia, right? And then came over here literally on what boat, guys?
The Titanic?
Famous boat. No.
Oh, sorry. Queen Mary?
The Queen freaking Mary!
Nice.
So he didn't come to California initially. He grew up in something Big Ten country somewhere. I can't remember quite where it is. But he grew up out there and then moved out here later on in life. But how crazy is that? Like, I know someone who got here on the freaking Queen Mary, and he went through, us on the whole 9 yards.
That's cool.
And he's just telling me about, what it was like in his village, and then by the time he got here, and then going to school, not knowing how to speak English, and then learning how to speak English, and it's just the whole thing. And it was just such an interesting story. So, pretty crazy, right? Pretty crazy.
That is.
But anyways, that was a lot of fun. So, talk to the old folks and get their stories.
It is nice. It is nice to get those stories. It is.
So we'll see how. But anyways, thank you very much for joining the show. We will continue to bring you content as we head into the season. We are going to be talking to Wayne Cook next Monday. That'll be fun.
Wayno.
And a few others.
Possibly and maybe.
Possibly.
We'll see how that goes. But that one's for sure. That one's booked. And so enjoy that. Bill may or may not be here next week, depending on when we record. If he has anything about it, he won't. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And until next time, Bill, what do we tell the people?
Go Bruins! And long live the Pac-12. So sad.
So sad.
So sad.
Good evening.
Smoke 'em if you got 'em.
Try us tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.
It's gotta be in or out, Mom. In or out. Well, I need the door closed.
Thank you for your cooperation.
Dude, bro, we play some ball on the West Coast.
The final word is boob.